in our mission, we walked a lot. We didn't have bikes or we didn't drive. And so, yeah, everything was either walking or you would take a bus. Or if you were in St. Petersburg, then you took the metro or the tramway or the trolley bus. Just depends on where you are in the mission. And so because you take public transport a lot, you will have a bus card. And so every month you just go, like the mission will give you, I don't know, like I think it's $200. I can't really convert it, but they give that to you. And so that you just go to the ticket office in the metro station or at the bus station and you give them the money. They put that money onto your card. And so you can use that card as many times as you want for that month. And so, yeah, we used a lot of buses. You just take a bus to every apartment or to the church. Yeah, I think we expected it would take about an hour to get anywhere. That's what we expected. So usually if you had a meeting at 1, you would have to leave by noon in order to get to the meeting. Sometimes if you're in the city, because things are a lot closer together, and it just depends on where the member or the investigator lives, it could take you 15 minutes. But most of the time, just plan on taking an hour to get anywhere. Shopping there, for stores, they don't have big stores like Walmart. I remember when I came back from my mission and I went into a Walmart, I almost hyperventilated because it was so big. There they have a lot smaller, more compact stores, and they're more local. So they have a lot of fresh produce. And they'll have like bread and pastries and things like that. You actually can go to something called a rynek, and that's literally translated a market, and that's where they have like the locally grown fruits and vegetables, and those are more popular in the summer because it's a lot warmer and you can grow things a lot easier. And so those open up in the summers. But they also have so that's a market rynek where food is, but they also have another rynek, and that is where clothes are. And those clothes are more like knockoffs, just people like hand making Gucci bags and stuff like that. So that's where you can get your cheap fake clothes. I didn't really go shopping in those ryneks, except for like my winter jacket and my boots and just like little things. But if I ever needed to get like a good skirt, I would go to the mall. They have malls there. Yeah, I think every city that I served in had a mall except for one, but that city was so close to St. Petersburg that it wasn't that big of a deal. Sometimes we didn't have enough time to go home because everything was so far away. We wouldn't have time to go home, but they do have like little shops on the streets. Me and my companions, we would get something called lepioshka, and that's just like, it's like flatbread, so good. And we would just get lepioshka and then go to a rynek and get some apples or something, and that was our dinner. And we would just walk on the street and just be eating that. Or there's something called wypichki, and it's like a pastry but with cabbage inside or potatoes. So a lot of times, this is just me and my companions, we would just quickly run by like a lepioshka and then just keep walking, keep going to meetings, and just snack on that for the day. Yeah. But if you're in the smaller cities, it's a little harder to find food on the streets. And in terms of transport, you do walk a lot. We didn't take as many buses because it's a lot smaller. So we walked a lot more. And in the smaller cities, I felt like it was a lot slower. Transportation was slower, people talked slower, and people walked slower. Everything was more laid back. And then you go into St. Petersburg and everything's fast. Like, I remember I served in a small city, and then I transferred into St. Petersburg, and it was a big shock because we ran after everything. We ran to meetings, we ran to buses, we ran to the metro, or to the subway, and it was crazy. In terms of safety, I think the senior missionaries have to be a little more careful about not being robbed or mugged, because they mainly got their purses stolen or money stolen from them. I think it's just because they look more touristy because they're older and slower. But I think also maybe just because we were the sisters, guys tend to respect girls a lot more there, and so they didn't steal a lot from us. But if you're ever in the subway, usually I would just slip my bag in front of me so like I could see it and nobody could grab it. And also I had a bag that could zip and could buckle. And so instead of them just being able to easily like stick their hand in your bag, they would have to unbuckle and unzip my bag. So if you're going to you have to get a bag for your mission, just make sure that it is able to zip closed. So it's a lot harder for people to grab things out of your bag. Yeah, and just be careful with money too. When you travel, you will have something called a pouch, and pouches are so uncomfortable, but they're useful, because in your pouch, that is where you'll have your passport and your papers to show that you are legally able to proselyte in that city. And you'll also have extra money in there. If there's an emergency and you have to travel to St. Petersburg, you can pull that money out and travel. Yeah. You will always have your passport with you at all times. It has to be on your body at all times whenever you're out in public, because sometimes the police will randomly stop you and say, give me your documents or show them to me. And they have certain rules for you. If the police do stop you and ask to see your documents, then there are certain things that you need to do. You have to call up the man that's in charge of the mission office, and then he'll talk to the police and get everything figured out. But usually the police never stopped me. But I think they stop a lot of the elders more, just because they're in suits and it looks a little more suspicious. But for us sisters, I didn't have to worry about the police stopping us or people asking for our documents.